I've recently been testing women-specific mountain bikes, covering a full spectrum of prices, right from £450 all the way up to £1,500. In our final five, we've got the Scott Contessa 720, the Whyte 604 Compact, the Voodoo Maji Women, the Specialised Ruse Comp, and the Liv Intrigue 2. The Scott Contessa 720 is the cheapest bike in our roundup and has probably the most striking looks out of any of them, sporting a bright white with fluorescent green and purple paint job. For £450 you get a Shimano 3x8 group set. It's quite old technology, but it does give you a wide range of gears for climbing. You do also get Tektro hydraulic disc brakes, however, and that is quite good to see at this price, providing adequate stopping power. The bike does feature women-specific geometry, so it's got a shorter reach, but it's also quite a tall bike, so you feel really perched high up when you're riding it, which doesn't give a lot of confidence when you're riding on technical terrain. If you're looking for a bike to roll around your local woods on, this is perfectly adequate for that, but I wouldn't take it on anything more technical than that. From my perspective, if you are looking to get into mountain biking, and I mean proper off-road mountain biking with technical trail features and roots and rocks, then your money is probably better spent looking at getting a bike from last season at a higher price that's now on sale, or at the second-hand bike market. The Whyte 604 Compact comes in at £525 and is quite an interesting bike for a number of reasons. Firstly, unlike the other bikes in this list, it doesn't have women-specific geometry. Whyte don't do bikes with women-specific geometry. Instead, they offer compact models of their frames. This essentially means the same thing. They offer bikes with a shorter reach and a lower standover. That makes the compact bike suitable for small people, not just small women. The 604 features quite modern trail geometry with a 68.5 degree head angle compared to the 67 degree head angle on the Whyte 900 series. It's also got a 74 degree seat tube. Now put those together and you've got a bike that feels quite aggressive and fun and responsive on the trail, but is also able to handle the rougher stuff on technical descents. The bike comes spec'd with a somewhat old school 3x9 Shimano group set. You've also got SR XCM 100mm travel forks and Tektro hydraulic disc brakes. The spec is understandably modest at this price, but it does weigh in at 13.7 kilos, which isn't bad for a bike at this price. It's also a whole lot of fun to ride. In fact, it rides like a bike more expensive than it is. For £75 more than the price you'd pay for the Scott, we'd totally recommend that you opt for this bike. I really enjoyed riding it around my local trails, and I even love the colour. The Voodoo Maji at £900 is one of the cheapest women-specific full suspension bikes that we've seen. Voodoo is only available in the UK chain Halfords, and it does have women-specific geometry that they've developed. Now, while I usually get on with women-specific frame sizes, I did find the reach on this bike a little bit too short for me. I'm 5'8" and a bit, and I tried the 18-inch frame and found it a little bit too compact. So personally, if I was going to go for this bike, I'd size up a little bit. For £900 you get hydraulic disc brakes, a Shimano 3x9 group set, and some quite decent Maxxis Ardent tyres, which we found gave quite good grip when rolling on the roots and rocks and wet stuff of our local trails. The Maji is fitted with Suntour Epixon forks and shocks, both with 140mm of travel. The forks have remote lockout, which is handy for getting up hills more efficiently. Overall, we were quite surprised and impressed with the Voodoo. Its parts are actually pretty good for the price, £900, and the ride itself was stable, fun, probably errs more towards the reliable, stable and confidence-inspiring end of the spectrum rather than being nippy and aggressive, but it was plenty of fun to ride and handled pretty much everything that we encountered on the trail. The Specialised Ruse Comp is the women-specific version of the Fuse, which is a hardtail 27.5 plus bike. The increased volume you get from the bigger size means that they almost act like their own suspension system. So while you are riding a hardtail, it doesn't really feel like a hardtail. It sucks up quite a lot of the uneven terrain as you roll over it. The Trans-X dropper post is a definite tick in the plus column for the Ruse. You don't always see them on bikes at this price point, but once you've ridden a bike with a dropper post, you'll never want to go back, so it's good to have one on this model. The Ruse is a really versatile bike. It was as at home riding my local trails as it was lugging a load of equipment on a bikepacking expedition to the Lake District. If you are looking for a bike at around this price, I would recommend considering a hardtail plus size mountain bike like the Ruse. That said, for a similar price, at only £100 more than the specialised Ruse, you could get yourself the full suspension Liv Intrigue 2. Liv is the sister brand to Giant bicycles and produce women-specific bikes, as the name suggests. I'm 5'8" and I tried the size medium, and a little bit unusually for me, I found that the fit was really good. Now, sometimes I find medium-sized women-specific bikes a little bit short, not in this case. The componentry is pretty much what you'd expect for a bike at this price point, so £1.50. You're looking at Shimano Dior 2x10 group set and Shimano hydraulic disc brakes. As with the other full suspension mountain bikes in the Liv and Giant ranges, this bike features the Maestro suspension linkage system, and in this case paired with the RockShox Sector fork and Monarch shock. In practice, what this translates to is a suspension system that gives great traction when climbing and a lively, responsive feel when descending. The Intrigue is an immensely fun bike to ride. It's responsive, lively, does what you want it to do, it corners fantastically, it pops off those little lumps and bumps in the trail. It's a bike you can have a lot of fun with, but it does what you want in a reliable and confidence-inspiring way. I would like to have seen a dropper seat post on this bike, but at this price point for a full suspension bike, it's rare to find one. However, I would definitely like to have seen this bike fitted with a quick release seat post at least. As it is, you've got to whip out your multi-tool every time you want to raise or lower the seat, which is deeply annoying. It seems a strange oversight from a bike that's otherwise really good and aimed at aggressive riders. One other complaint was the hard compound knobby nick performance tyres, which just really don't provide enough grip. I found myself slipping all over the place. So while purchasing a new set of tyres isn't the most expensive thing you can do with a new bike, it is annoying that I would recommend you do it more or less as soon as you've got them. Another interesting point is the width of the handlebars, which come in at 730mm. Now, this is a lot wider than the bars on the majority of women-specific bikes that I've seen, and what this tells you is that Liv are pitching this bike at a serious rider. This is for the woman who wants to go out, shred those trails, have fun, isn't scared of going down the technical terrain, wants to hit those big hits, wants to ride through those rock gardens, wants to have fun on their bike. So there you go, there's our roundup of mountain bikes for women. 4 of the bikes we really liked, 1 of them not so much. The Whyte was actually one of the most surprising bikes we tested. That was very fun to ride, especially considering the price. Whether your budget is in the 400s or the 1500s, there is more choice than ever, and the depth of choice is another thing that's worth noting. It's a great time to buy a women-specific mountain bike.